Prepare yourself for a spine-tingling journey into the unknown. In this video, we'll explore 3 true horror stories that will haunt your dreams and make you question what lurks in the shadows. Are you brave enough to hear these chilling tales? Story 1. I had been living in what felt like a house from hell for just a couple of weeks. As a college student, my parents were generously paying for me to have a place of my own. I know I'm spoiled, but the house they got for me was modest. Nothing fancy or huge, and at first I was happy with it. Well, for the first few days anyway. Then things quickly started getting strange. One rainy Saturday, as I sat watching TV for hours with nothing else to do, I heard a sudden scrape on the living room floor. I scanned the room, wondering if an animal had gotten inside, but after a moment, I shrugged it off and went back to my show. Little did I know, that would be just the first in a series of unsettling occurrences. The rain continued through the night, giving me an excuse to stay in and watch more TV in the living room. At one point I thought I heard a noise coming from the kitchen. Feeling foolish but cautious, I grabbed a pillow to use as a makeshift weapon and went to investigate. There, in the dark kitchen, was a box of Cheerios spilled all over the floor, hundreds of the little O's scattered everywhere. I had no idea how that could have happened. As I started cleaning it up, I heard a creak, the sound of weak floorboards under someone's weight, coming from near the kitchen table. But when I looked up, no one was there. I was starting to feel unnerved, my nerves on edge with every little sound. The thunderstorm outside was the only thing that seemed to calm me, and I remember drifting off to sleep on the couch, lulled by the rumbling. When I woke up, I thought I'd heard a loud bang or thud from downstairs, but the house was quiet, so I just turned off the TV and went up to bed. The next couple days were normal, until the next gray, rainy morning. I woke up feeling sick, like I had the worst hangover. I ended up staying in bed all day, leaving the TV on for background noise as I tried not to throw up. Around midday, I muted the TV after hearing strange sounds coming from above, from the attic. The attic door was right in my bedroom, and I could hear a series of thumps from up there. Mustering my courage, I grabbed an old baseball bat and went to investigate. I pulled the attic string to turn on the light, but saw nothing out of the ordinary, just some old boxes. As I hurried back downstairs, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that something wasn't right. That night, I woke up with a start, thinking I'd heard thunder, but no. The sound was a familiar thud from the attic. Heart pounding, I went back up the steps, bat in hand, and shouted out angrily, trying to sound intimidating. But before I could even turn on the light, I heard the unmistakable sound of a child crying, and then giggling, in the pitch-black darkness of the attic. The pure terror I felt in that moment is indescribable. I didn't even think. I just fled that house as fast as I could. I called my dad to come get me, babbling out what had happened. My parents could see how shaken I was, and I think they believed my story, as unbelievable as it was, giggling in the attic. To this day, I'm convinced that what I experienced in that house was truly paranormal. I've never been so relieved to leave a place behind. Story 2. When I was 20 years old, I briefly worked as a caretaker for an elderly woman named Mel. Her house was an ancient, dilapidated structure, set on a sprawling property that could have been beautiful if she'd bothered to maintain it. The place had an eerie, unkempt feel, 2 acres of overgrown land surrounded by dense woods on 3 sides, with the road cutting it off on the other. The house itself was ancient, mostly wood construction, and the interior was perpetually dark. Mel seemed obsessed with keeping the blinds drawn, even in rooms that didn't get much natural light to begin with. When I'd opened them to let some sunshine in, she'd silently come behind me and shut them again. She often relied on candles to illuminate certain areas, giving the whole place a prehistoric, haunting atmosphere. The floorboards creaked underfoot everywhere I went, and Mel's movements were slow, deliberate, and unsettling. She rarely spoke, and I got the sense she was hiding something. One weekend, she asked me to stay overnight, which I now realize was a grave mistake. That night, as I lay awake in the uncomfortable bed, I began to hear strange noises, slow, heavy footsteps, pacing back and forth upstairs, the creak of a door opening and closing, followed by the sound of someone descending the stairs. Then, the unmistakable sound of a doorknob turning, as if someone was trying to enter the room where I was trying to feign sleep. Mustering my courage, I eventually crept downstairs to investigate the basement, which Mel had strictly forbidden me from entering. What I found there still haunts me to this day. 2 decaying, wig-adorned corpses sitting in old wooden chairs. I had stumbled upon some dark, macabre secret Mel had been concealing. Horrified, I made a break for the exit, but Mel caught me and gave chase, brandishing a large kitchen knife. I managed to escape to my car and flee the property, never to return. To this day, I can't shake the unsettling feeling that I narrowly avoided a fate worse than death at the hands of that disturbed old woman and the grisly mystery buried in her basement. Story 3. When I was 13, my friends Mark, James, and I would go on Saturday night ding-dong ditch adventures in our suburban neighborhood. Back then, the area had fewer houses and more wooded patches. Mark or James would usually be the one to ring doorbells, while Matt and I would find hiding spots nearby. The homeowners would come out, yell something, then go back inside. Sometimes we'd ring the bell again to get a stronger reaction. One guy even threatened to call the cops. One night, we targeted a rundown house across from a wooded area. The moment Mark rang the bell, the large, burly owner came storming out with a rifle, furiously searching the bushes. We ducked in the woods, terrified, as he stood glaring in our direction. When Mark tried ringing the bell again, the man reappeared with his gun. We didn't dare move a muscle. Eventually, the man went back inside, but kept watch from his window. Fearing for our safety, we waited until Mark could safely escape before booking it out of there. We never reported the incident, just told some friends. Luckily, that house was far from our usual hangout spots, so we could avoid it in the future. Those ding-dong ditch days were thrilling, but that close call taught us to be more cautious with our mischief. Thank you for joining me on this terrifying journey through these true horror stories. If you enjoyed the chills and want to hear more spine-tingling tales, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Share your thoughts in the comments. What story scared you the most? Until next time, stay safe and keep the lights on.